Dementia. Thank you for joining us today. Today we are giving some communication strategies that's going to be very useful if you're going to be helping a person with dementia. So here's the quiz. She insists she must call her brother Joe now. You are going to remind her that Joe has been dead for 20 years? Or B, bring pictures of Joe to jolt her memory? C, make up a story such as Joe is traveling and suggest writing a postcard instead? D, disconnect the telephone so she cannot call Joe? Or E, bring up the death certificate as a proof of Joe's death? This is a situation that's going to come up very often if you are taking care of somebody with dementia. A person with dementia tends to forget the most recent history, and for the longer time they can still retain events that happened in the far past. In our case, she's asking to speak with somebody who is no longer alive. But if you tell her that, she's going to get very upset. Very upset because she doesn't remember that Joe died. She doesn't remember having attended a funeral. She doesn't remember all the grieving process that she's already been through. And if you tell her the truth, if you tell her that he's been dead, she is going to be very upset. Imagine finding out for the first time that somebody you love is gone, is no longer there. You go through grief, you go through anger, you start resenting the person who told you. How come you didn't tell me before? All these years he's been dead and you didn't tell me? What's wrong with you? You will end up making a person very unhappy and even an enemy when you must be her best friend at this point. So really telling her that Joe is not alive anymore is not the best thing to do. And you can try to prove with a death certificate, and you can try to bring, pictures to jolt her memory, and none of it is going to be helpful at all. What you have to do is attend to her feelings at this point. She's missing her brother. She needs to communicate. That's all you need to know for this situation. You're going to tell her a little story. I call them fiblets. Not exactly a lie, a little fib. A little fib that's going to help her cope with her immediate feelings. And so she won't have to go through the grieving process all over again. A fiblet is just a little deviation of the truth, but it can be so very helpful in this situation and in others like this. A great thing to keep in mind when you're caring for a person with dementia is that they don't really need to know the truth. They don't really need to understand our reality and how things work and the reasoning behind everything. They don't need to understand, and they cannot assimilate. Their brains are not working the same way they used to. They have lost the potential for reasoning, for connecting A and B and getting to C. Keep in mind the acronym D.A.R.E. Do not argue, reason, or explain. Every time you try that, you're going to fail. And whatever it is that you're trying to explain is going to be forgotten in a few minutes, and you have to start the conversation all over again. So it really is not helpful. So instead of telling the truth and trying to situate her in our own time frame, let's tell her that he's out of town, he's traveling, he's in some wonderful location, happy as can be, and change that situation into a productive activity. So now you can write a postcard, you can write a note for him and write it together, like, what would you like to say to your brother? Let's write it down. Make it an activity. The same technique you can apply to any other request that cannot be provided. So if she wants to visit her home, and she's talking about her home where she grew up with mom and dad, when she wants to talk to grandmother, or she wants to go to work. A lot of people with dementia still think they are going to work in the morning. So instead of telling, no, you've been retired, you're too old, they'll say, well, today is Saturday. That would be a great tip. Or today is Sunday. We don't go to work on Sunday. We'll go tomorrow. Let's do this tomorrow. In the meantime, let's prepare. Do something productive with that energy instead of trying to reorient and make them understand the truth. So I imagine that by now you know the result of our quiz. The answer is C. Make up a story, such as Joe is traveling, and suggest writing a postcard instead. Do not ever argue, reason, or explain. And every time you do that, you're going to be losing her. She's not going to be with you. You're going to make her even more upset, mad at you. You don't want to be on her bad side. She might not remember in the future why it is that she's mad at you, but she will remember that she's mad at you, and it's going to make caregiving a living nightmare for you. Besides, tomorrow she's going to come with the same request. I want to call my brother Joe. And you have to be very kind and very understanding and make that into a productive event instead of a sad, very sad one. There will be a lot of more information on there in the book, but also we'll be talking about this quite frequently because it's the real key to communication with dementia. Do not expect them to work at your brain functioning levels. We have to work at theirs. I hope this has been useful for you today. I'm adding a few more tips at the end. Thank you, and I hope to see you back at Ahead of Dementia with Luciana Risco.